Well, welcome to all you hardcore Domopalooza people that show up to one of the last sessions on the last day after a late night to talk about an exciting topic. You are my type of people, so thank you for coming. I'm still a little bit high on adrenaline after Darren Thane, our CTO, demoed Story Embed on the main stage. I feel like I've been keeping a secret for like 6 months, and finally we're able to all get excited about it. So I'm really been looking forward to this session with Ruben, and we'll get into some context here on the wide umbrella that Domo Everywhere covers, from embed all the way through publish and white label as well. But the main thing that we want to really help people do, especially in this room, is to expand the scope of their vision. We've often looked at Domo as a platform where you can run your business from your phone, and that's something that I truly believe in. But let's think even bigger. Often when we think about running our business from our phone, we're thinking about trying to knock down silos with our own teams and across departments and get everybody in the same building at least out of their cube. But really we want to go beyond that. We don't think that ideas and valuable data should stop at the border of your company. That once we're willing to really extend that out to our own partners and to our own customers, that's when the value that we're driving for them is totally tangible rather than assumed. And so the way that we need to be able to do that, though, is make people feel as comfortable in the Domo platform as they are as well in your portals and in your software and in your websites. And so one of the main ways that we're pushing to do that is showing you the many examples that you have and the many options that you have for embedding cards or publishing cards, but then even going beyond that into stories. So with that in mind, we can take all the value that you've already poured into building beautiful views and really actionable data and make sure that it's not just something you build for your own team, but something that you get out to those who are keeping us all in business. So as we look at distribution and we pause for just a moment, I just wanted to really take a time to start with why. I'm a huge fan of Simon Sinek. If you've never seen Simon Sinek's TED Talk on Start With Why, I highly recommend it. It's a very valuable 10 minutes. But really the why is to take these platforms that you've already built, take software you've already built, take views that you've already built, and augment those even farther so that they can actually get used in a larger context. And we believe that if we can do that for you in a way where you are very confident that we're going to protect the data in those views, that we're only going to show the versions of those views to the people that have the right to see them, then some of the fear that we might have about crossing that border from our company to our customers and partners' companies will be resolved, because we really think that it's still protecting all the data that you have trusted Domo with. And then we start to get into doing business in 2019, not thinking about the options we usually see when we press export and we think about an Excel spreadsheet or a PDF or a bunch of slides that end up just becoming more spam in someone's inbox, but instead an interactive experience that makes you want to come back over and over. I admit that I am an ESPN addict. If I click on a card and the blue square spins more than 3 times, I have like some sort of mental disorder where I instinctively just check ESPN for about 4 seconds. And the reason why that is because every time I go back and I look at it for those 4 seconds, something different is there. And that's exactly what I think is the power of Domo Everywhere. Something different is in that embedded view and in that published view every time they go back and they look at it. And that's not the experience you get from normal distribution where you're just scheduling reports. So if we think back on just our motivations for doing all of this, we need to acknowledge one big thing, that even though we want data to be used so it can drive more value, it's probably still not going to be used, no matter how good it looks, unless it's in the place where people already spend time. And that's why I'm excited to speak with Ruben, because he's brought the power of Domo into the places where his clients were already spending time in their software. And that's the type of thing that really drives change across organizations. And so even though we'll be talking about embed for a very large portion of this breakout session today, Domo Everywhere is more than just embed. It's pushing as well into publish. And really the line in the sand that I would hope you would remember between embed and publish is consume versus create. We want to have very powerful, interactive, dynamic consume experiences with embed. But as soon as your power users start to say, hey, I would like to do more than consume, I would like to build on what you've given me and customize it even further, and maybe even create my own views and combine it with more data, that's when we start to have that publish conversation, and that's when we want to simplify the copying of subsets of data across instances from you to them. But usually when we get to that place, we have given you confidence that the embed views can feel very much OEM, very much white label, very much from you. And I wanted to show you a little bit today how we can even do that with published instances and make a piece of Domo software, a piece of a Domo instance look like it's something that you built and maintains that consistent interaction that you want for your customers. So I'm going to fly past this stuff and just hit one more point. We specifically put Domo Everywhere into this track, this technical deep dive track, because we are trusting that we're talking to a technical audience here. People that aren't going to get mad at me when just in a few minutes I open up Terminal and I open up Sublime Text and I open up the code that actually makes this all real. Because on the main stage, it's a little bit of sleight of hand and magic, but with Embed, I want to show you how real it is and how you can do it yourself. Because it's not just taking content from Domo and putting it into your properties, it's, in all honesty, this. And taking into account the authentication of the people who are going to be looking at this embedded content and making sure they see the right version of data. So only 6 months ago, we had a whole bunch of red X's on the Domo Everywhere capability framework. And all of those 5 things in the bottom right are now green checks. We can do all of those things. Yes, we can give you page level controls where you have one change, one filter that applies to all the iframes on the page. Yes, we can auto-fresh the data. Yes, we can programmatically filter the content whether or not the viewer has an account in Domo. Yes, we can allow them to create their own content as we mature your power users from embed to publish. And yes, we can apply custom formatting to white label it and make it look like something that you would have proud to be in your portals and in your software. So we'll turn it over to Ruben now, and we'll see how actually he has done this over the past year.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chris, and thank you all very much for joining today. I'm very excited to stand here again. I was here last year, different stage, but yeah, similar title, similar story, SaaS in SaaS. It was great fun being here last year. It was also a bit challenging because at the moment we were trying to explain how Embed worked, but we hadn't gone fully into production this time. So maybe some of you were there last year. If that's the case, I hope that I can build on top of that. And for the ones that are new here, thank you very much for joining. Today I would like to basically take you through the journey that we as a customer actually had in making Domo Embed a reality, and how we did that, what were the decisions that we need to make, and yeah, we hope to be able to give you guys some takeaways, some actionables that you can use within your organization. So, a bit about Virtuagym. Virtuagym is a fitness software company. We have about 8,000 customers globally. We are originally from Amsterdam, where I'm personally from as well. And we've got an office in Colombia from where we serve our customers in the US and in LATAM as well. I think the interesting piece is basically our business is that we have a fitness software, so for personal trainers, gyms, and studios, which consists of 2 parts. So you have a web platform, which is like the backend for managing your memberships, your schedule, your finances, your revenue. But so that's a web portal for our B2B customers. But then we have a mobile application for their customers, so for the end users, where they can book their classes, track their workouts, track their nutrition plans. And yeah, we have a couple of million end users across the world with that application. And of course, from a data standpoint, that makes it extremely interesting because we've got both the B2C data from the revenue as well as the B2B2C data about the engagement of the members. And to kick it off, I'll try to take you a bit through the journey, because our dream has always been how to bring Domo to millions of customers. Both our B2B customers, but ultimately also the B2B2C end users. So bit about the journey. I was talking to many of our customers, and they were all like, great functionalities in the system. You can do everything. I can do my coaching, my revenue. But I want to know exactly how the software is impacting my business. I want to know the numbers. I want to know the data. And with all due respect to the fitness industry, fitness professionals are not exactly the same type of people as data scientists, and they think they want data, but actually when you give them something like this, they really hate working with it. They don't really know how to actually deal with it because, they are people. They wanna work with doing the trainings, doing the workouts, giving the classes, and they just want to have their business, just automated and do it quick. So that's when we, first of all, started to try to build the dashboards ourselves. We are a SaaS company, we have a bunch of developers, so we thought we can do this. We built a whole new data structure, we had super senior people working on the back end, many people on the front end, and after a year and a half or two being in beta, having this not so fantastic dashboard, we decided, okay, let's abort mission. We're going to take a different route. So that's basically when we looked at the BI world and finally found out about Domo. And that Domo had this brand new functionality at the time, Domo Embed. And throughout the sales process, we relentlessly asked if there were peer customers who also had it implemented. Our account executive ninja'd that question very well, and apparently we were one of the first customers to actually start working with it. But today, I would like to kick it off with showing you a live demo, so that first of all, you see how it actually looks like in production in a customer portal. So let me see, it looks like, maybe I need your password, Chris, here. Yeah, and can we switch the screen? All right, great. So what you look at here is basically a demo portal of our system. So we have like, one of our functionalities is like this community where people can connect, and it's a cloud platform. We do everything in the cloud, and then we have a bunch of different functionalities here. So we have, people have their community, their schedule, and now since about 9 months ago, they have this functionality called Business Analytics. So as soon as we go in here, the SSO kicks in and the PDP kicks in, and actually we have this complete analytics module built into our system. Obviously, you guys all recognize the type of UI that you see here, and for us, it's all obviously Domo, but for our customers who have never heard about Domo, this is all just Virtuagym. And of course, we can just adjust the cards in the backend, we can change the visualizations very easily. And we were able to launch like a full module with like 6 different types of pages, all types of functionalities. And of course you have like the standard Domo functionalities with like changing the time filters and just drag and drop to zoom in and all of those fancy things that you have inside the, let's call it the real Domo. You also have them embedded here. So we launched like our first 3 tabs on top. We launched that about 9 months ago, which was our sort of all-included product. So every customer got all of those standard metrics. And then we are actually very excited that since a month or 2, we actually launched like a premium product, which is now just filtered on the front end on our side. So basically, if a customer buys it, we have just those 4 extra tabs enabled, and then they get like all of the extra insights where you have some more functionalities. So for example, here you have drill down enabled so that people can actually see some of the data of like, who are these people who are actually coming in? Who are my trainers who are giving all of these classes that I'm having, and when are my classes actually busy? So I think you guys are all familiar with like the possibilities of the different card creation that you can do in Domo. And I think, yeah, we are very excited to have been working very closely with Domo as well, with Chris, with the rest of the product team from Domo, to have this, yeah, this mutual journey towards success. Because at the end of the day, this is really a win-win-win situation. Domo wins, Virtuagym wins, our customer wins. So, yeah, it's very exciting. And yeah, I would like to switch back to the presentation because what I'm hoping today is to explain to you guys basically 3 golden rules about how you can do this. And I wish that somebody would have told me these rules before I embarked on this mission. It would have saved me a lot of time, but I hope for anybody of you inspiring to do something like this, some of these innovations, hopefully this can help. So, as a first rule, API only. We are a SaaS business. We currently have 5,000 customers, or a bit more, but yeah, we obviously have hundreds of customers coming in all the time. So we literally had to make sure that we cut out every single manual step that relates to Domo, because when a new customer signs in and he starts with his portal, automatically the business analytics modules should work with all of the cards and everything. So the way that we did that is basically that as a very first step, we made our architectural model of like, okay, we have the user, we have Virtuagym, and we have Domo. So how are our databases going to talk to each other? So just to zoom in a little bit. So basically the way that we did it is that we had a table built in our database, which was we are just using a SQL database, which is called something like Domo user table. And then we just built a logic that whenever a user clicks, we verify, is this already a Domo user? If yes, we just immediately continue. If no, then prepare the user data, we make a new one, and we then have the user assigned to a group, and then everything is just mixed between, yeah, you can see the zigzag in the full architecture between our database and the Domo database, allowing us to do everything from the user creation, the PDP, the single sign-on, all of those things automated. So, indeed, when you think about, when Chris and Domo are presenting Domo Embed, it's of course very logical that everything is like directly only filtered for one user, and I'm super excited about new programmatic filtering because that can make things much easier. But the way that we have done it in the past was really APIs for all of these single things. So for the single sign-on, for your user creation, for the group creation, for the group assignment. Bit of a pro tip, we were told that like groups, they just work a lot better in terms of setting up PDPs and everything than users. So yeah, we basically, in our case, we created a group for every single club. But then you have to have the group assignment and the group sharing, everything you have to do it via API. So also the PDP, and yeah, so thing that people might forget is to actually share the pages and the cards, because all of that just has to be automated. So, rule number 2, prove internal value fast. So, basically, we are a SaaS company, but regardless of whether you're a SaaS company or any other company, I would highly recommend to take an agile approach into delivering this new innovation. So, for those of you maybe less familiar, yeah, traditionally it's just a waterfall approach with getting the requirements, do the design, do the development, do the testing, and then do the deployment, like very old school development. And yeah, over the last decades, I think most tech companies, they try to work agile. So they make the scope of what they try to deliver a lot smaller, and then they iterate faster so that they learn faster, because in software you have a lot of unknown unknowns, and you want to get as fast as possible to known unknowns. So The way that we did it is basically in 4 different steps. We did a design sprint, we did a prototype on local HTML, we did a beta product into production, and then a completed product. So I would like to take you guys a bit through these 4 steps. How could you actually apply these? So first thing is, what we did is a design sprint. So a design sprint is a process that has been developed by Google Ventures and has been tested and trialed for thousands of times by many different companies. And it's basically a process where you go in 5 days from an idea or a problem all the way to a validated hypothesis with customers. So without diving in too deep into a design sprint, I can recommend everybody to learn a little bit about it because it's a very structured framework how you can go through a complete product development cycle within 5 days. So after that, we build a prototype on a locally stored HTML file. And actually, this was quite an inventive idea on our side, which we actually didn't do in the first iteration. That's why our first product took quite a long time, but our second product went very fast. We just built a locally stored HTML file of our platform, which it just looks like our platform, but none of the buttons are actually clickable. Of course, it was very easy to just make this front end because we already had that front end in our teams. But the beautiful thing is, because you have that iframe, you can just actually embed it inside the HTML, and it actually already looks like the real product. And so what we did is that we organized customer calls where we, in Domo, filtered so that they could only see their data. And then we just had digital calls with our customers. And we did screen share, and we handed them mouse control. And we said, OK, yeah, feel free to just click through the prototype. And the only thing that we did is just build some cards, filter for their data, plug it into the HTML code, and our customers could immediately test the, in their opinion, real product. We didn't have to bother to go into production or deployment or actually do all the PDPs. So highly recommended step to build your prototype. Third thing is to have your beta product into production. So now with programmatic filtering coming up, there are different options on how to actually do this. But in our experience, having one card successfully embedded and have all the authentication processes and PDP work, 99% of the work is getting that one card up and running. So if you have the luxury of having a team, I would highly recommend that you split them up. You have one or multiple people working on the cards, getting those perfect, but at the same time you have your engineers making sure that that one single card that is already finished is actually working up and running. Because as soon as you have that, that's when you can just embed all of the cards and you can complete your product. And yeah, the way that, to give this a bit more context in terms of this process, it's also recommended to organize your team around that process. So basically, Virtuagym is a scale-up. We have about 200 employees, and BI is pretty new. I was actually the first person in the company to start working with data, which is very weird for a tech company, but let's not dive into that. So yeah, but now we have about 4 employees within the BI team. But I think in any type of company, you have to, like if you embark on a new project and you immediately start with a bunch of different people, that always makes the risk of the project a bit higher. So what we did, and yeah, what you can think about for your own organization, how that would scale to your amount of employees. One, just by myself, it was perfectly possible to show the customer need. Like it was easily to show that there are a dozen or of companies asking for this. And then together with just one analyst, we could do that design sprint. It's not a difficult process, and very often, especially if you start on zero, you can just create value immediately. And then after that, we started to involve like a product owner and a marketeer so that we could actually build our prototype. The actual building of the prototype wasn't that advanced, but we wanted to have like the product owner and the marketeer involved to make sure that we actually built what the market wanted. Kind of a pro tip, this is a very good moment to bring in the executives, because for them, then it actually looks like a product. So then is when, if it's necessary, you can get more internal buy-in to get your engineers that you need in order to get it to production and push it up the roadmap. So yeah, and then we just included 2 more developers. So in our case, we built it with 6 people in total who were involved. Depends on the organization how that would work for you guys, of course. So then, number 3, tell the whole world. I think the beautiful thing about data is that everybody wants data and everybody talks about data. So what we've been doing is, like, when we go to trade shows, it's just big on there, because like in a lot of different industries, people want to have dashboards and data, and we are the data people, but if you are in a different industry, it's perfectly possible to push your clients to get there. And yeah, what we noticed is, like, using some of these buzzwords, like how IoT is shaping the future of fitness and data-driven member engagement, all of these type of things. In our marketing, they were extremely effective, because our competitors, yeah, they didn't do anything like that. And we could, okay, IoT is a bit bending the truth, but still, like, we immediately outperformed a lot of our competitors in terms of their reporting capabilities. So yeah, there's no shame in actually telling the world all about it. So the next beautiful thing is that once you have it in the hands of your customers, you can actually make a business model out of it. So in our case, what I showed earlier on, we had the standard one, which went out to all of our customers, and we have the premium one, where people can just upsell themselves within the system with one click on the button. We just enable it on the back end. There's no manual work for us, and people pay us for that a monthly recurring revenue. Well, everything's automated, so for us, it's just a matter of, yeah, sit back and wait till the customers come in while we are expanding our business model out of Domo. So then you can take it to the next step, where you can even track, like, how are the customers actually using this module, then using Domo again. So then you can complete the whole cycle of product development, from starting it, building it, delivering it, and measuring it, and then you can do that nice lean circle of build, measure, learn. So what's next? Yeah, we are very excited that we are at this point, having multiple customer-facing products live with Embed, but this is not where it ends. Domo is delivering and growing very fast, just like we. So yeah, we have a couple of very interesting ideas. One is that we want to start thinking about mobile first. So how can we get data into the hands of the end users on their phone? Having that native mobile experience. Another thing is that we really want to start thinking about end-user-driven machine learning. We have all of our end users selecting their training plans, executing their training plans, and one of the things that we are now working on is, for example, we want to predict the likelihood for a member to churn, and then we want to provide the gym owners with the insights to act upon it. We want to have the end users give them the ability to have a recommended training plan. Oh, this is my height, this is my weight, okay, therefore this would be the perfect training plan. And all of these things is that we want to leverage the power of Domo and the power of AWS and the power of Virtuagym, all in this triangle towards where we go. Because in our case, with, well, 8 or getting close to 10 million end users, as soon as we can start making a business model out of the end user, that's when it's going to start become really interesting for us. So some of the key takeaways that I would recommend for anybody embarking on this journey: APIs only, has to be completely scalable. Think about that internal agility, how you can prove the value fast, and then once it's out there, scale fast and let the world know that you actually have this. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll leave the rest of the talk to Chris, who's going to show you a little bit more about what's coming from Domo's end. If anybody has any questions about how we did it, want to share some best practices, or simply connect, of course, feel free to just reach out. And thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Chris.
had to really fight the instinct to hug Ruben because I felt like I just watched someone talk for 20 minutes about how my 6-year-old son is the best soccer player in the world. But yeah, I'm glad you love my baby as much as I do. So we'll jump and take a look at some of these details next. You know, you've really seen Ruben do a great job with what was available to him in 2018. But I want to show you what's coming in 2019 and 2020 to hopefully get you even more excited. So it's true, yeah, Virtuagym was one of our early customers way back a year ago, but since then, you know, he's not alone. We've got over 100 customers using this for millions of impressions of embedded cards. And then as they've moved from embed towards publish, where people are moving from portals into the full power of Domo, we have 500 subscribers pulling data from publisher instance and really going beyond the consume into the create world. And so that's because of our balanced initiatives in investing in all 3 parts of Domo Everywhere. You know, making sure that embed had the story flavor, that private was able to programmatically filter even if someone didn't have a Domo account, and so that when you give the experience, it looks like something that was built by you and that your customers are giving you credit for. So I want to show you a little bit about why you can believe that that's real and how you can get started on this today. So we'll switch back to my screen for a little bit and we'll go into these few examples that we saw for only a few short moments on the main stage, but that are actually something you can get working on today. Can we switch back to the computer at the podium? My friends, thanks. Got it. So this was the story that you saw from Darren, our CTO, just this morning. It's a real life story that I can come in and that I can edit, I can remove cards, I can resize them, I can change it however I like. And this is the power that goes beyond just the complexities of full JavaScript compatibility, and instead just lets anybody come in and build something in a quick prototype the way Ruben described and get it launched out there. But usually after you've finished pulling on the text and the images and the cards that you want to have in the story, it comes down to my favorite button in all of the Domo platform, where usually you would press share and you get those boring options like PDF and PowerPoints and spreadsheet. I'm sorry to my friend Josh, who's in charge of those features, but they are lame compared to mine. And you come here to Domo Everywhere, and this is where you can really begin that leap of distribution into a way that, just like I mentioned with my ESPN addiction, is dynamic and engaging and changing and updated and making people wanting to come back and look at it. Because I think we've all had that horrible experience of just putting in late nights, building the most beautiful partner or customer-facing dashboard, and then having them be all fired up about it for about 2 days. And then the novelty wears off, and then they just stop looking at it. And you know that they've just got it auto-deleted in their inbox. And so as we go back out here, and we can choose whether it's public or private, it's authenticated or not, we simply copy this code, and this is where I would go next. So I would switch right here. There I am. And this is the real life code that I've spent day and night in for the past few days preparing for the main stage demos to get this to work. So in here, I have my basic website, and if I drill into the partner page, it's just your average code. We have our style sheet references, our different links, and then we just come really into the main body of the page. And literally all I did is just paste in that one line of code that we had just copied from Domo, and I'm ready to go. I can still surround it by all the other things that I hope already exist in your software, like that social feed that they had in Virtuagym, or like any other update that you might have pushing to them, and you can just make this feel like an expansion on what you had, or even hide it behind some of those feature switches that Virtuagym had to kind of gradually upsell people into different levels of premium support. And so after I take that, what I get is this experience, which you saw for just a few moments. You could have this be an internal employee intranet. You could have this be a partner portal. You could have this an end customer update. For us, we decided to focus on this partner portal so that we can really emphasize this piece right here, where if I was Peter from Speed Cycles, .com. That all the parts that kind of surround this iframe still exist, but I'm able to come in here and say, wow, okay, for all the products that we sell, it looks like we've got some issues with our tires. How does that change if I want to look at just the MTX 5000? And I see, okay, MTX 5000 actually has issues that focus a little bit more on the suspension. I can make sure that that quality is improving and the repairs are changing over time. I can make sure that I have links directly to my upsell guides, my cross-sell recommendations, and even my repair instructions, and really make this a conversation. And after I log out on that, I can begin to ask myself, okay, now how do I want to have that change as it's not Peter from Speed Cycles, but it's Ryan from topbikes.com. So that's where I wanted to shift and show you a little bit more around programmatic filters and how that actually works. So I'm going to actually show you in real life how this works. So in the same way that Ruben suggested that we keep things agile, this is kind of my local sandbox where I want to make sure that I'm defining the filters on my end in a way that's totally server-side, that cannot be spoofed or that cannot be changed, that cannot be edited in any URL parameter by the viewer, that cannot be, broken in security so that anybody sees something they shouldn't, but really make sure that it's all being handled on the back end by the APIs. And this is really, if I zoom in a little bit right here, the core of it all. Now, in your real life examples, it might not be as simple and hard-coded as this, but you can see all we have going on is the beginning of a conversation between your software and your portals and your websites and the Domo APIs. And all begins with one person's login credentials. It's just the developer's login credentials. He's the only one, or she's the only one that has a Domo account. And through that, the developer goes to developer.domo.com. So I'll show you that real quick, and we'll come back to this code in just a moment. But what I would do, and what I recommend any of you could do today, is just come over here, not only because this is where you can unlock the door to the API, but this is also where you get the documentation for it. You come in here, you log in with your normal instance details. And from here, you can then come up here to My Account, and you can choose to manage clients or make a new client. All right, here, it's going to work for me. Anyway, demo demons. In here, as I go and I create a new client, I'm going to get in return from us, because you're logged in through your Domo account, your API ID and your secret. And you're going to embed that into your environment so that when you make this call, that you're the one who has all of your PDP applied to everybody else. So then after here, what happens is it says, okay, you're logged in. You have an authorization token. What we're going to give you in return for that authorization token is an embed token. And through the combination of that authorization token so that you can talk to the API and an embed token which says that you are a licensed user of Domo everywhere, you can then say, for this story or card ID, I want to now filter it so that when Mike logs in, he only gets the region of West. Where, for example, down below, if Susan were to log in, she would get the region of Northeast. It's as simple as that. And so to show you in real life how that works, I'm going to switch now back to what this experience looks like. And I'm just going to spin up my kind of internal web server here. And I'm in the folder where all that JavaScript that I just showed you a moment ago is stored. And so I'm just going to get this started with Yarn. It's running and listening on port 3001 just like it would in real life in your software or on your site. And now, oops, when I look at this experience in my sandbox, make sure it's really alive, I'll log in as Mike. So we can see in real life that just as we defined in our code, he has access to that West region. But on top of that invisible filter we get from the programmatic code, we want to be able to give page level controls. We don't want to make him go and change through each of these filters one by one. We want one drop down to be the control for as many iframes on the page as you would like to place. So if he, for example, wanted to take a look at the data in Colorado, that not only applies to the map card, but also to the bar chart if you like. And you get that fast experience where they're not loading sequentially, but all together you get that fast type of performant interaction. So as I log out there, the next thing that you might want to work on is saying, well, Chris, it's great. You talked about how when you have a team like Ruben of 2 engineers and a product owner and a bunch of marketers, that I can do some really complex and technical things, but to be honest, it's just me. I am the tip of the spear. I'm the believer in Domo everywhere, and I need to be able to prototype this myself so that I can get the extra resources to prove that this is something that's customer facing. And so that's really what the Cox at Gamut clients that spoke towards the end of this morning session did. She said, you know, you talked to me about all this programmatic filtering, and honestly, it just makes my brain hurt. I don't have software. I don't have a portal, but I still need to have an experience that Domo hosts and that I can send to clients, and I need to do it in 9 days. And so what we did is we just took this same embed iframe, and rather than putting it into the backend code of their property, we simply just put it into a direct reference here, and it's still authenticated. It's just now authenticated through Domo. They still had to have a login and password to make sure they were seeing the version that they had, but much like Virtuagym, they just did it through PDP. And then to make it feel a little bit more branded, they just did a simple DNS trick so that when people went to analytics.gamut.com, that this is the iframe that was redirected to. And even if you don't have a place where you can prototype this in some software or a portal, we can still get you stood up and moving to demonstrate this concept to any of your stakeholders. So what happens usually after this, when people are consuming this type of data in Embed, is that you'll start to get those requests from people saying, this is great, but I really want to change it myself. I really want to create my own content and customize it in the way that makes most sense to me. And that's where people will often continue to turn this into a business model where Domo is not just another thing that is a cost center, but is truly a revenue driver. And they'll say, okay, the level beyond the first 3 tabs and the next 4 tabs that Ruben was talking about is now your own full white labeled account of Domo. And up here in the top left, instead of it being Domo and Virtuagym, it would be Virtuagym and their specific customer. And after that, all we have to do is make it in your published instance that you're defining 3 things: jobs, subscribers, and filters. So these jobs are basically just a collection of the core data sets, the cards that have been built on top of it, and any of the data flows that make that work. All 3 of those things are packaged up in the published instance. We can choose from any subset that you want, and then we go through those data sets and make sure that there's a column, of course, that identifies which subscriber should receive which subset of data. We align the subscribers to be able to receive it through the filters where we find out which column recognizes their ID or their name, and then we can set any frequency that we like. We can have an automatic frequency, or we can just have it also push every time your core data set updates as well. And then for you to maintain confidence that the end customer experience is solid, we can make sure that subscribers can be added and that jobs can be maintained with a very detailed job sync history for you to make sure you're giving everybody that quality experience that you were counting on. So I'll bounce back now into just the slides that we had on the back machine, and we'll talk a little bit more about your options on white labels. So we'll bounce past this, and I just want to emphasize that there's a wide spectrum of options for authentication. You can go fully public and just make it something that you want the whole world to see. Domo does that with our quarterly earnings calls. We show our top level numbers to the world on our public website, and people don't have to log in, they can still see it. All the way down to the other end of the spectrum where we not only have one identity provider, but maybe we have multiple. Maybe we want to use OpenID Connect to use OAuth to spark everything off. So regardless of whether or not you have SSO or Okta or an identity provider or not, there's a variety of options that we can definitely work with you on. And then when we think about where we want this interaction to happen, you can kind of see either from the Gamut experience where they were just taking the raw page, or the Virtuagym example where they were putting it all the way into their software, or the Domo example where we were just putting it into customer and partner portals. You can decide a variety of different places where you want this interaction to happen, and we can make that work for you. And so with the timing of these different pieces coming out, of course, we've had the PDP out for over a year now. Filters work both on public and privates as of this month. Publication groups have been out for a while, but it's often overshadowed by the progress that we're making in Embed and Publish. And these new JavaScript API filters where we use the dropdown was released just a couple weeks back, and these new programmatic filter tokens that you heard from Darren is going into beta just next month. And if you're wondering, okay, that's great, but I really want to use a combination of those options, it's more good news. You can combine all these filter types together, and the layers will honor each other. So if you want to start up with PDP, and then you want to apply these programmatic filters, and then you want to have the drop-down filters work, that's fine. You can combine them all together. I think that since we're coming up a little bit close on time, I'm not going to go into as much depth here on exactly how the tokens are passed. But here's your Mach 3 version, just flying by real quick. What happens is the user accesses your properties, your portals, and your software. And in return, the big thing that changes, instead of it being domo.com/embed, it's your server/embed. And the reason why that matters is because after that request for the embedded card happens, we take that request from your server and we begin that conversation through the tokens. We say, yes, I have a Domo account and this auth token is my proof. Give me my embed token. And then we say, okay, now with that embed token, I want to submit a self-submitting form that includes the ID of that card and all the extra parameters of the filter. And then we say, okay, great. We are not going to return you the raw version of that card, but we want to bubble up to you the filtered version of that card. So technically, that's how the combination of tokens works to make this all happen. And then in the end, the final question you might want to answer is, well, which of us is going to get credit for all this work? Which brand is going to be emphasized? Which logo is going to be shown? Which colors are going to appear? And this is where we have a variety of white labeling options. Inside of Virtuagym, you saw how there was no header or footer. And that's totally an option where anything that said formerly powered by Domo can easily be pulled off. Then with story settings, you saw how you can change card backgrounds and page backgrounds, and very soon have totally different page images. With the brand kits, we're not going to be able to give you our entire CSS for the Domo platform, but we will compromise and make a space in the admin console where you can change the most important values of the Domo CSS so you can have different fonts, different layouts, and different appearances to make it really feel like something that you own. And then even in the mobile app, we can make it so if anybody logs into Domo on their phone, that it's your logo that is the icon of the app. It's your name, it's your landing page, and it's your experience that you really want to have across devices. And then, of course, custom apps continue to be an option, even though I kind of expect Domo Stories to kick the crap out of custom apps because they're so much easier to use. But they're still an option. So that's really the spectrum that we've been working on, and we hope to partner with you if this is something that's intriguing, and we'd love to talk anytime. Thank you. So we did want to save at least a few minutes for questions. If I were you, I do not blame you if you are exhausted and you want to stand up and walk around, no problem. But if you do have questions, we'll be passing around a microphone, and we'd love to take it and give you some answers. Sounds like Tuesday afternoon. Go ahead.
What about a situation where it's not like the user ID that filters the card, it's something from the application itself?
That's great. So yeah, that's an awesome question. Although the primary source of filtering will, oh, I'm sorry, let me repeat it. What if the filter is based not on a username or a user ID or something, it was instead something specifically from the platform where it was embedded? That is supported. Even though SSO will often be the primary source for filtering, really anything that your engineers could imagine to programmatically define, as long as they put it into the final API call that you make to Domo, that's what will be rendered. Awesome. Anything else? Great. Thank you so much for your time.